Welcome to the Geena the Latina show. I am Geena. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and on TikTok at the Geena the Latina show. I am so excited to have this show. My intention behind the show is to always teach you something, maybe make you happy, maybe just make you learn about something that you didn't know about. And for me, I've never got to talk about the things that I've wanted to talk about. I'm on the radio. Of course, I talk about things I want to here and there, but this is something that is my own, that is special to my heart. And we'll explore a lot of topics. We'll explore a lot of like weird things, a lot of cool things, a lot of interesting things. We're going to cry. We're going to laugh. We're going to be angry. We're going to be sad. We're going to do all the things on the show. But I thought I'd start with my friend DJ Drew because we are both on a spiritual journey. We've been on this spiritual journey for a long time now, and we're continuing to learn and grow about ourselves. And so I thought he'd be the first person to bring in for this first episode of the Geena the Latina show.
Yes, thank you for the cup too. I appreciate this.
I wanted to do this episode because I feel like we are interviewing a lot of people that do a lot of different things, but I get this question all the time. Geena, what did you do to heal yourself? And I'm not saying I'm completely healed, but if you know me and you follow me on social media or you listen, I'm into like everything holistic and spiritual. And then when people ask me, I don't know where to start, right? And I don't know what to tell them because I've done so many things like over the last 5 years. So I wanted to do this podcast to probably just kind of list and go through a lot of the things that I've done. And I'm not saying that these things will work for you if you're looking to heal your body or heal your mind or heal your soul, but I'm just letting you know the things that I did for myself. And I always say that you have to choose what resonates with you. So some things you may try and be like, what the heck is that? And it didn't work. And some things you may be like, oh my God, I love this, right? And I've my dog, if you're watching this, my dog Teddy is taking over
all
the
over
show
the place right
now. But you know, I always say that, and again, if you're listening to this, this is not, I don't want you to say, oh, Geena said to do this, so I'm doing this. I want you to listen and feel what resonates with you. And if something, even if it's just one thing I say today, says, hey, you know what, I'm going to try doing that, then let's do that. You know what I mean? And so that's where I want to start. And I forgot to bring, do you guys see a journal over there? There's a brown journal. It was up there. Yeah, I need that. Okay, sorry. I also wanted to bring a guest on who is a good friend of both mine and producer Chris's. We've known him for over 20 years because he is on this spirit. We like to call it a spiritual journey. You can call it whatever you really want, right? I probably started mine about 6 years ago. He started his in the last few years. I'll let him talk in a second before I do his big intro. He's a world-renowned DJ. He DJ'd at Kiss FM in Los Angeles, which is a big radio station, for 20 years. He's now a DJ and programmer for Pitbull's Globalization on Sirius Channel what?
Channel 13. Friday nights, 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern.
He's also a music producer. Our good friend, DJ Drew, welcome. And the reason why I brought DJ Drew is because you're in the music industry, and a lot of people don't realize or don't know that, a lot of people in the music industry and entertainment, I feel like we need this stuff, right? Especially as someone that you're DJing at the clubs every night, you're DJing at, everywhere, right?
I mean, I think that...
Pause. It's Geena the Latina. Okay, so what you need to do right now, if you're liking the content, is you need to subscribe, and comment, because we want to keep this show going. We need to mess with the algorithm a little bit. So if you like the show, help us out a little bit, and make sure you follow us at TikTok and Instagram at the Geena the Latina show. Okay, let's get back to it.
Now, specifically DJs, I tend to compare us to comedians because we're all entertaining. You have to go out on the road. The road is lonely. And we are all very much sad human beings. That's not...
I've dated a few of you. I could attest to you, not you, but DJs.
A few of you.
but you know what I'm saying? And that's true. And people don't realize that because they just see this DJ on stage, hyping up, having a good time. But then you go back to your hotel and it's all over again, right? And then I know you guys meet a lot of fake people, a lot of people who are just your friends just because you're the DJ, who you can get them into the club and all that.
Yep.
And I think I'm glad that you were able to discover this other side of spirituality, because I feel like that's something that can help you stay grounded throughout what you're doing, but also anybody else listening in whatever their job is. Specifically, when did you start? Like, when would you say, how would you describe your journey? I say my spiritual journey, but what do you call it?
I call it a spiritual journey as well, because you're kind of you're actually experiencing a different thing, and it is spiritual. You feel very much at peace as you kind of work at it. And going back to kind of like being in the music industry, and that one of the other things that it helps me with is that there's so much negativity. I've had people put horrible comments on music that I've posted or mixes or whatever. So you always have that. And so, I started probably the end of 2019. It kind of somewhat started before then, because you had introduced me to Vanessa and Theta.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that was the first thing I was going to talk about.
Nice little segue.
Yeah.
Yes, thank
Smooth.
you.
Notice how we do this for a living.
Yeah. So Theta Healing is where I started my journey. And let me tell you, so this was about maybe 6 years. I've always been like connected to whatever you want to call it. Like, I believe in Jesus, I believe in God, I believe in spirit, I believe in the universe, I believe in a lot. And I always say people believe in different things, right? And whatever it is you believe in, that is cool. But I believe that there is some kind of higher force that helps us do miracles daily. But anyways, I wasn't really like into it, but I remember I was having a really bad year, and without getting into too much, like a lot of stuff happened at work, had gone through like a breakup with like a guy, like a best friend had betrayed me. It was all these things. And I was at a really, really bad place, probably like one of the lowest places I've been in my adult life. One of my girlfriends had invited me on a random trip for New Year's Eve to San Francisco. And so I just went, and it was her and a few friends. And I knew the girls, but not really. It was kind of one of those random. And I remember I was at a bad place, and we got there, our hotel keys weren't working. So we were literally sitting in the hotel, like the hallway. And Vanessa, who you just said, who I knew her, but not really knew her at the time. I could feel her coming to me, and I could feel her energy. And this was before I knew anything about energy. And I'm like, oh my God, this girl's going to ask me what's wrong. I thought I was putting on a good front, blah, blah, blah. And she comes up to me. I said, I don't want to talk about right now. She didn't say anything. I just said, I don't want to talk about it right now. Give me a few days. Mind you, I barely knew this girl. I just knew she was about to like ask me what's going on, right? So then she respected that, and she said, okay. And after I got to know her, we were there for a while. I feel like, I don't even know if we were there for like a whole week. After a few days, I said, how did you know like there was something wrong with me? She's like, I could feel your energy. I'm like, what do you mean I could feel your energy from down the hall? I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean, right? And that's when she started telling me about Theta Healing. And Theta Healing is energy healing. And Theta Healing, it's hard to explain, but there's pretty much different brain waves that we're in at any part of the day, right? Beta brain wave is where a lot of people operate in all day. And there's different frequencies of beta brain wave. There's like low frequency, mid frequency, high frequency. And this is where you're like, go, go, go. You're talking. You're not really connected to anything other than like what's like going on, Alpha is kind of when you are, when you're driving and you're daydreaming and you forget you were driving, that is alpha. Or it's sometimes when you're kind of very creative in alpha. It's kind of when you doze off and you come up with this great idea, that's alpha. Now the other brainwave is theta, and that is the deepest form that your brainwave, and this is all science. I know this is crazy. Read some books. Like any scientist will tell you this.
Yes.
This is real. This is not like witch stuff or whatever. This is like for real.
It's not hocus pocus.
No, this is not hocus pocus. But the theta brainwave is when it's the deepest form that you can be in while you're awake. So it's a lot of people when they're meditating. If you're truly meditating, you're in theta brainwave, and that is when magic happens. I can't even explain it. It's where you can hear everything going on, but you're in such a deep, like it's when ideas come to you. It's when like ha moments. It's when you're in deep in meditation.
Is it? Let me ask you this, Geena, because I want to make sure that my understanding is correct, and hopefully it's the way that people can really understand. Isn't theta like when you're half asleep, half awake? When you first maybe wake up in the morning, you're kind of dozing off at night.
You're in theta brainwave right
there.
Before you wake up. You go through all these brainwaves while you're during your sleep. Yeah, exactly. It's and that's when you're, and a lot of people say that's when everything comes to you. That's when ideas, that's when you wake up knowing yes, that's what I'm going to do, because you're in the theta brainwave.
Right.
I'll go through the two real quick. The other two is gamma, and that's when gamma is kind of like when you're, when moms get that extra strength and they pull the car off their kids or whatever. All of a sudden, that's gamma. It's a real thing. All of a sudden, like you become
It's
the
the Incredible
superhero.
Hulk.
Yeah.
That's
And then is that all of them? Theta.
I think so.
Anyways,
yeah.
we're talking about Theta 1 anyway right now. So theta healing, what it is a practitioner, which by the way, I am a certified theta healer at this point. But I'm going back to when I first found out what this is. A practitioner, a lot of people can't get into the theta brainwave. It takes years of, everybody can, but it takes practice to get there. So what a theta practitioner does, and so what Vanessa was doing in that hotel, is she gets into that brainwave for you. She sits with you. She's pretty much meditating for you. And she's pulling and releasing things in your body that you don't need anymore. I know that sounds fucking crazy now that I'm saying it out loud, right? But she explained to me energy healing, and this is the basic way I can explain it to people that don't understand. When you wake up late, and you're rushing, right? Then you spill your coffee, right? And then you get to the car, you get to on your way home, and then on the way, someone flips you off and you flip them back off. So by the time you get to work, you're feeling like shit, right? Then by then, someone sends you an email and you're fucking talking shit back. Then you're fighting with whoever. And by the time, and then you go home, you fight with your significant other. It's just a ripple, right? And by the end of the day, you're carrying all this energy with you and you feel drained. Whereas if you're aware of what's going on, you could have flipped it at the very beginning.
You could have nipped it in the bud.
So the second you were running late, you could have just accepted, I'm running late. I'm okay. I'm going to calm down right now. I'm just going to send my box of texts and be like, I apologize. I'm good. And you could have totally changed your day by what they call clearing your space, right? The problem is people don't recognize how much energy they're not clearing throughout the day, let alone week, years. People go years without clearing the energy in their body, right? If that makes sense. And you could think about it. I just went off one day, but if you're not doing this your whole life, how much of other people's shit do you have in you, right? And you do pick up, so that person that flipped you off, believe it or not, you picked up their energy, right? And when you flip them off back, they picked up your energy. And that's why you have to be very aware of what you're putting out to people through words, through thoughts. Believe it or not, thoughts can affect, like I can think, oh, Drew's outfit is ugly, blah, blah, blah. Whether he knows it or not, I'm not helping him, know?
It's a nice outfit though.
Thank you.
No problem.
But it's just, I'm just pointing these things out to be aware. And people, I could do little activity, like in Theta, we show you different activities.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you call them, activities. What are they?
It's kind of like, it's almost like homework. It's things.
I was talking about the standing thing in front of it.
Oh, well,
should we do this on video or not?
I think so, because you can see. So when Geena introduced me to Vanessa, I went a couple of times because I knew, I think I was going through a breakup at the time. And, that's always when you I need something. And Vanessa, first she started doing, because I was going to her in person, and there's a thing that you do where you interlock your fingers, and if it's a positive, if you really believe it, that you can't break the link. Mm-hmm. And if you don't really believe something, the link will break. And for me, I was just like, well, it's just a link. And I was like, this is, and I had doubts, because, you just think like, what, this isn't real. You know what I mean? It's hocus pocus, So now this was pre-pandemic, but somehow I was able to FaceTime with Vanessa one day. And because of that, she used a different technique where you stand up and you ask the universe something. And you either lean forward if it's positive, or if it's a yes, and you lean back if it's a no. That is when everything changed for me, because there was no possible way. There was nobody in my room. There was no way that you feel it. If you want to know if it's real, you do this technique and you will start, this might be something, because that's when it all changed for me. And then that's when I really started going.
Believing it, right?
Believing in it and just going full throttle. And
I'll explain what she does, what she's doing exactly, because I do that too, with that. But So I wanted to backtrack real quick. So Vanessa starts telling me about theta healing. I'm like you, like, oh, what the heck is this? It seems like kind of weird, but okay, I kind of get it, whatever. I did one session with her and it changed my life. I have gone to therapy. I had 2 brothers died, all this stuff. One session with her did more than 5 years of traditional therapy. And now I'm not against therapists. I think some therapists are great for people, but for me, that's what worked, theta healing. So after that is like, what is she doing? And that's why I wanted to learn more. And so over the next 2 years, I went to her every 2 weeks. And it changed my life. And then that's when I started taking the classes and became an actual theta healer practitioner. And then now, and then.
I mean, yeah. Geena goes, I go to Geena now. And it kind of just opened up the doorway, and it's really helpful. In my opinion, one of the reasons why I like the theta over traditional therapy, which like I want to try traditional therapy, in the future, but with a traditional therapist, it takes you a minute to, you have to tell them this, and then you're 6 months into it, then they start kind of like, okay, or 3 months in.
Yeah.
Whereas theta, it's like, it's not going to solve your problems, but you're going to get to some of the roots of your problems much faster. It's, things are going to come up where you're just like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah, well, it's because people don't realize that everything that triggers us as an adult, or everything that there is a reason as an adult, it's always stems from when you're a kid.
Yep.
And what theta does is it goes deep and gets you there, and makes you, it makes you realize, oh, that's why I am the way I am. So, like, for example, do you want to give something of yours, or?
I mean, there was one, I'll give you a really great example. There was a dude that I went to high school with. And this guy just kind of like not physically bullied me, but mentally bullied me, words. And man, I would think about that guy. I mean, up until a few years ago, I'm a grown ass man at this point. This happened when I was like freshman, sophomore year in high school. And I would always think about that guy. And it would kind of like, get me kind of riled up. Like, I'm like, I can't. And sure enough, I brought it, I brought it up in theta. Geena pulled all this stuff.
But this is the thing. You didn't bring it up first. You're not remembering what you brought up is that, and that's what most people do. It was present day, and you felt like maybe some people you knew that were like kind of bullying you or whatever in their own way. Like where I'm not going to put out your info, but some people in your present day you felt were bullying you, right? Whereas a theta healer, I saw, you know what? They're not the root of it. What is the root of it?
Right.
Where did this stem from? Because they were doing some stuff, but it really triggered you to the extreme, whereas other people might have taken that as a joke, right? Yeah. So then we start going deep and deep and deep and deep, and then we find out the story about this bully from what grade, right?
It was like freshman year,
and that's where it started from. So from here on out, if Drew takes a look of every time he felt bullied,
it always goes back to
that. So what we would do in theta is we would go back to that, and we do a forgiveness exercise where we pull that guy out. We let you forgive him as a little kid, like do it, and you don't have to do it in like in real life. Now you're doing it because a lot of it is built in our subconscious.
Yes.
And that's only one example. And we as people have so many things, right?
Yeah, I mean, and the thing of it too is that it's not like one session cut this guy off.
Yeah.
It took multiple sessions, but I will say this, it got to a point, I was like maybe the fourth time we talked about it, or fifth time. And since then, I don't think about that guy at all.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some things that still come up that trigger the bullying aspect of it, but it has nothing to do with him at this point.
But you know where it's from.
Yes,
so in the moment, instead of like that bully being devastating, you getting all angry, you realize, you know what? This guy is just showing up, because I believe that everyone is a teacher for you. So if this is showing up, that shows me up that I haven't fully healed yet. So what do I need to do to still heal back and go back and do whatever you need to do? And that's what theta healing is. I know you had a question.
But yeah, do you think though it really helps that you've known Geena for a long time, and that going to her was a little bit more comforting than actually just going to a complete stranger?
Well, he went to Vanessa first for a long time.
I went to Vanessa.
And he didn't know Vanessa.
I think when you first go, I think you're still a little nervous, because now you know somebody that's really close to you. Now you're gonna tell them,
because when
and honestly, like I've cried in sessions with Geena, and it's not like But it does feel some sort of a comfort that, hey man, first of all, nobody's gonna judge you
Right.
that's
Yeah.
doing theta, but you don't know that inside you're gonna be like, oh, I
And
don't
think-
want to cry.
And I think a lot of people think that too. It's like, oh, this person's gonna like say all my secrets or use
Yeah.
this against me
Yeah.
or whatever.
And
I'm glad you brought that up because I think energy healing, if you are going to an energy healer, you need to be very careful of who you're going to because it just like any other profession, there's not some great people like, and you know, and that's where like some people get bad reps, but like you are allowing that person to come into your energy to see what's going on with you, to help you. However, if you're letting the wrong person do that, that's not good either. So I would very advise if this is something that you choose to do later, you choosing the right practitioner, you talk to someone that's gone to them and do all that because that is a big deal because, you know, and back to like protecting your energy. It's also our job to protect our energy in every aspect. So not only in theta healing, but in, you know, in everyday life. So yes.
I mean, I think that like people in general already kind of like, you know, everybody's had a bad vibe from somebody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like without people knowing, you're already getting energy.
Yes.
You're just, it's just in a very small kind of example, but if you work at it, you can start like,
you
you can start blocking people like, no, I
it's
just
great.
don't want it around.
It's great. You know, I always give the example. So you know those people that walk in the room, you don't even know them, and you start smiling because they just brighten up your day by just being them. Then you know those people that come in and you're like, oh, like, you know, like, no, like negative. That's you picking up their energy, right? Now it's up to you what you want to do with that energy. A lot of people don't listen to it. I would clear up my space, make sure that person is not going to affect, because obviously we can't control other people walking into the room. There's always going to be bad energy around us. But that's why we're in charge of recognizing that. Just like I was saying, recognize when you become anxious because you spilled a coffee or whatever, and stop it right there. Like, you know what? This guy is walking in. I already feel bad vibes. I'm either going to remove myself from the situation. I'm going to bubble up. And that's what I do. And you create like a gold thing of light around you and bubble up. Nothing can come in me. Do whatever, but a lot of people don't recognize it. Then they get that energy and it goes on and on and on, like I was talking about before.
So you talk about clearing your space, like that's the first step to do, but how do you do it? Like what do you do to actually say, I'm clearing my space?
Yeah. So the simplest thing I say for people that are starting is you literally put your hands, I'm putting them out like as if I was pregnant, putting it around my body in a circle.
So you interlock your fingers.
Yeah, lock my fingers and I'm putting it all, explain what I'm doing.
So she's interlocked her fingers in front of her at arm's length and then she's actually moving them up over her head.
That is the simplest thing. Like I'm clearing your space. And it sounds funny. And even like, you're like, what the hell am I doing? But even that, when you're laughing at yourself, believe it or not, you are changing the energy because you went from like mad to like, this is stupid.
So it's almost like you're putting up a shield and a new one.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the basic thing, but it goes a lot deeper. You literally, we have meditations where you visualize. When my clients come into me, I do it for them, a thorough clearing where you go through all the chakras and you release the energy and then you protect. But I would say, imagine like a gold light around you, kind of like an angel, like a circle, a halo, but all the way around your body, all the way down. It's almost like you're in like a big egg almost. Mm-hmm. And imagine just like light coming down and close your eyes for a second and that should protect you. And it's all your intention behind it. I know that sounds crazy, but I wish, should we show you the standing thing? I know we're sitting down and there's a podcast, but there's a video part to this too. So I'm not sure.
Well, one thing I wanted to say too, and Chris kind of touched on it. When you're like, because I do this in the middle of a store. Like if I'm trying to like decide what I'm doing, like I'll clear my space and because it'll go into the leaning thing. But I kind of had this revelation of like, you know, Chris kind of like, oh, it's kind of weird or what, feeling weird. And I was talking to a friend of mine the other day and we were like talking about all kinds of, you know, different things. Like, I mean, we were talking about, you know, he does spiritual work as well. And we kind of started talking about like psychedelics and all this different stuff. And I was just like, you know, and then we started talking about being hippies and they were talking about love, this and that. And even doing this, people think we're weird or they thought hippies were weird. And then I started thinking, I'm like, what if we were all wrong and being quote unquote normal is what really is weird and being weird is actually how you should be?
Yep.
Because, hey man, I wish I would have been a hippie a long time ago because they seem extremely happy. They just talk about love. Yeah,
Yeah.
carefree. Do they look stressed out?
No.
I mean, who's the weird one?
I know.
Us doing the rat race, or those people just like, hey, all right, man, good, love you, man. I want to be like that. So if you're thinking it's weird, let that go, because I'm telling you, it's not weird when you start seeing things happen. Like when you start feeling better. Hey, one thing I mean, I still sometimes partake in it, but road rage, that's almost a thing of a past for me.
I don't do that at all anymore.
And so it's like, so if you think things are weird, flip it around, and maybe the weirdness is being quote unquote normal.
It's weird, not weird, but my nephew, he is 19 years old, right? And he's around this stuff, and he like jokes like, oh, I used my intuition, Geena, to blah, 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 right? So, but I always tell him, if I knew what, like, if I wish I knew at your age, I would be a multi-millionaire. I would be this, because this transitions to not just being like, it's not, you shouldn't do it to become rich, but I'm telling you, the second you change your life, everything fucking comes. And I will never, like, someone debate me on that. Like, I can give you specific instances that once I stopped giving, like, being greedy and changed it with gratitude and clearing the space around me and making sure I had the right people, shit just came. Like one year I got like this 20,000, what was that? We had a contest. I won like $50,000 that year on some random contest that I didn't even fucking try to do.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about. I wanted to bring that up.
I'm telling you, miracles fucking happen. Like, it's crazy.
So Geena, in Theta, I learned that Geena had an issue that I have. I have an issue with money.
Yes, me
and
too.
Not being enough.
Never having enough. And I think a lot of people.
Yes.
You think of money from a place of scarcity.
Yes.
Versus I have an abundance of money, right?
But what did you do? What did you do with the church? Because that blows my mind.
Oh yeah. So when I was,
because that leads into everything else that you just mentioned.
So let's talk about money. Okay, so when you grow up not rich, which is most of the people here, right? And I don't know if you can relate. I know Drew relates. I've never talked to you about this, Chris, but you think that you're never going to have enough money, right? And so like, as I went through life, I started making more money, and I always was in fear that it was going to be taken away, that I was going to get fired from my job, that like, what would I do? Like, so I have to save it. I mean, I would buy like a pair of jeans and feel guilty about it, even though I've worked 90 hours that week and deserve it to get a pair of jeans, but I would feel guilty because what if I need that money? What if I lose my job? Whatever. So that was something I was working on during Theta. This was like a few years ago. And it was slowly like working on, you can't come from scarcity. You have to come from an abundance of it. Like, I am taken care of. I am fine, whatever. And so one of the things that you do is you start spending money, right? And I'm like, oh shit. Like, no, I can't spend money. Like what? And I'm not saying spend it frivolously on stupid stuff, but even like if you're scared to spend, like shit that makes you happy, right? So I don't know, something in me, I went to church one day and they were doing this challenge where you have to give, like, you have to commit to giving, I think it was 10% every month, right? And again, people have their beliefs on 10%. I'm not telling you to go, you have to do 10% to the church every month.
You have to do what is right for you. This is what
for whatever
Geena's
reason, I was
experience.
there at church, and Pastor Miles over there at The Rock, he's like, 10% every month. I was like, you know what? I always donate, but I've never dedicated to 10% every month. And I was like, shit, like that's a lot of money. You know what I mean? But I was like, you know what? For whatever reason, something in me told me to do it. Again, I'm not telling you to do it. I'm saying this is what I did. And I did it. And the first month I was like, oh my fucking God, right? And then literally the day after I put that amount, I got an endorsement at work for double that, right? So I'm like, okay. It gave me a little bit more confidence, right? Anyways, I kept doing it every month. It got easier. I was like, it is what it is. I'm going to trust that God has my back. And I know some people don't believe in God. The universe has whatever it is you want to believe in. That year, we had this contest. Do you remember that app? Like, it was some random app that we were supposed to post on for all iHeartMedia. It was
that's how well the promotion went that weekend.
And they were doing it. It was like this new social media, and they wanted all the DJs in the country to start a page and like post on it, blah, 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 blah. Do you remember that, right? And the winner was going to get, like, whoever had the most followers at the end of the year was going to get like $50,000, something crazy, right? So let me tell you, I set up a profile because I had to. I put a picture. That's all I did. I would put a picture every now and then, kind of same on Instagram. I did not dedicate extra time to it. I didn't even really fucking pay attention to it, okay? Tell me why at the end of the year, I had the most followers on that thing. I had blah, blah, blah. And I was the number one in the country and got that, whatever. I don't know if it's $50,000, but I want to say $50,000, which was so much more than I had donated to the church. Like, so my point is that was on top of, there was a lot of other blessings. So I remember like a random check, a refund check came from like the state one time that I shouldn't have got. Like that whole year was crazy. And that really made me realize, like, you know what? Like, to me, after that, I didn't worry about money anymore. You know what I mean? And I didn't keep doing the 10% thing because I felt like I did it for a year, and I still give to the church.
By the way, the church built a whole new church based off of Geena's 10%.
Is that new tower that they built? Yeah.
But it was just crazy because that app, I don't know how I did that. Everyone's like, how are you getting so many followers? What are you doing? They thought I was doing some secret. I wasn't doing shit. I swear to God, I was not doing shit. You know, I created an account just like everybody else. So I truly believe that God, the universe, did that to show me, stop worrying about money, do stuff that makes you happy. If you feel it, feel it. And so now when I feel like and I'm big on giving back when I feel it. I won't do it because I have to. So like every now and then, I don't know if you've noticed, Chris, like every now and then we do this thing called Make Happiness Happens on our radio show where we have a sponsor. It's a family in need. We give them things, but sometimes I feel like they need a little more and I'll give them my own money. That's not coming from the radio station. And I don't do it. I only do it when I feel like it. You know, and I don't look at my bank account before. I know, I trust that I'll be fine. Yeah. And I've been fine since then. And that's where I come from. And I'll do that with people. I'll do that with, you know, like if I feel it in my heart. And that I think also brings you back to trusting your intuition, which is what all this is about too. So with energy, you know, intuition is real. And someone who doesn't believe in intuition, like I feel bad for you because you guys, your body energy, your body, and this goes back to the standing thing, which we're still going to do. Your body will always tell you the right and wrong thing to do, but people are not listening to their body, right? That's how intuition, like, you know, when you're walking down a shady street, I shouldn't be here, but how many people keep fucking walking instead of leaving? All right, hold up. This is like your 20-second Geena the Latina PSA. I need you to like, comment, subscribe below because we want to keep this show going. So if you're liking what you're hearing, please do us a favor and like, comment, subscribe below, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at the Geena the Latina Show. That's the Geena the Latina Show. I don't know why I can't talk. Back to the show. Right? You know, those kind of things. But also what's important is that your intuition gets thrown off when you're not taking care of your body, when you're not taking care of your mind, when you're like walking around in high beta state, when you're like, go, 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 go. And then you have to make a decision and you can't make a decision because your body is so thrown off. And that's why it's important to make sure you don't get to that point.
Do you think that you could actually listen to your intuition too much? Like, you know, people who might be paranoid about like, oh, I shouldn't go here, I shouldn't leave.
Okay.
Do you think that's too much? How do you balance that?
That's not your intuition.
What is that?
That's paranoia. And those people are probably the most unbalanced of them all. You know what I mean? And so if you're paranoid, you're really not, you're very unbalanced because there's a difference between paranoid and they'll say, oh, I'm listening to my intuition. It's not, they're really unbalanced because if you're listening to your intuition, you will never be paranoid. You'll just know the right answer or the wrong answer and that's it. So people that are like that, they're probably way more imbalanced than you think. And they're saying their intuition. And that's where intuition gets a bad word because, well, look at this person. They're always, oh, this and that. It's the same thing as bad energy healers, bad doctors, bad whatever. There's never, you know, it's the same exact thing.
I feel there's like certain words that people use just to throw out there. And I'm going to add intuition to that. And I just tell, because, I'm listening to my intuition. Well, and just like Geena explained. And I think the other word is anxiety.
Yeah.
Everybody, it's my anxiety. Look, I suffer from anxiety. I know what anxiety is.
You're clinically diagnosed with anxiety.
Look, I've been having... I have anxiety. I have it. Because when your mind is going 100 miles an hour throughout the day, you're dealing with anxiety. And people use that term and it's like, hey, look, don't throw that out there. So intuition, anxiety, there's words that people just throw out there because it's like, I don't think that they know how to explain what they're feeling.
Yeah. And that's where and that's why you have to take everything with a grain of salt and know that there's better healers than others. There's better doctors than others. There's teachers that are great that are not, the same thing is with intuition. I think intuition can be used like with everything in life, if you're using it right. I think that people think they have intuition and they haven't done the work, because to really trust your intuition, your body has to be in tip-top shape, meaning your mind, your soul, what you put in your body. Believe it or not, food will affect your intuition. If you're eating like shit all day, you're off balance. If you're eating healthy foods and all that, you're more connected. And we have things, can we stand up or what should we do? I don't know if we could stand up and move these mics.
Can we do it?
No? Okay, look, how about this? After this
I like how
episode,
everyone behind the scenes is looking at each
we're
other.
going to film another little part of this video where I just show you what we're talking about, and then we'll add that on our website or somewhere. Yeah.
Is that cool?
Is that cool? I'm looking at our director. He's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Yeah, because right now it would be too, But the food you put in your body, I know he's like, what the fuck are you guys doing right now?
Everybody's like,
like if we're putting bad food, it leaves you unbalanced. But speaking of intuition, and I didn't want to jump so far ahead, but since we're talking about it, I read this book on intuition because what we're going to my journey. This could be like 10 episodes now that I'm figuring out. But when I started doing my intuition, I read this book by Laura Day. Okay, and look up Laura Day. Literally, billion-dollar businesses hire her to go in and teach intuition, like management skills, okay? She doesn't like the word psychic, she intuition, how to learn to your intuition. She's made millions of dollars of this. Demi Moore wrote her thing. I took a class with her, but first I read a book on her. If you are barely getting intuition, read the book Practical Intuition by Laura Day. And she's gonna come on the podcast too, by the way, but she's in London, but yeah, she
couldn't come now?
No, but we're gonna figure out
I
how
might
to
be
get
coming back to this.
she is amazing. But businesses, and this is what I think, people think this shit is fake. Why are businesses like, and I don't want to say the wrong business, paying her millions of dollars to come meet with their managers to teach them how to use intuition in business, meaning so they can make the right decision at a business thing. It's not fake. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think the other thing too is like, we have certain people that we listen to, and I'll throw this guy's name out there. I don't really think he's more like on the spiritual side, but it's very similar. Tony Robbins, if you've ever listened to a Tony Robbins like book or like audio thing, or you've gone to his seminars, it's very much it's in the same realm. It's just a different thing. So like, this girl, it's like that's why a lot of these, it's a different approach, and it goes back to, you have to, all the stuff that we're talking about, you have to pick what works for you, because there's some certain books that Geena has recommended to me that I haven't finished yet, but then when I find other ones that I read and I'm like, it just clicks. Was nothing wrong with the books that Geena recommended. It just wasn't.
It didn't resonate with you.
It didn't resonate with me as opposed, and it's the same type of thing. Gabby Bernstein's another one.
Yes. Wayne Dyer.
Bob Proctor, who recently passed away. They're all different.
Sonia Choquetti. Since we're going through the list of books, because when I was on my spiritual journey, I started doing theta healing. I started going to Mesa. I started reading a lot of books, and I always get questions about authors that like, what should I read? And again, like Drew said, you have to find the book that resonates with you, and not all of these. So I'm just gonna go through them. You guys can add any. Chris,
I have no books. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not adding nothing to this.
But so I'm not telling you could go out and read all these, or you cannot. But these are some great authors. This one I'm reading right now, Drew, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza.
That is one that I'm telling you, that just clicked with me.
Yes.
And I'm not a big reader. I don't enjoy it.
It's a fine to listen to it on Audible, by the way.
Yes, but I that book really, and it explains all the different waves and the energy. It talks about gamma and theta and it explains it.
Yeah.
That book I would highly suggest.
Yeah. And Joe Dispenza, he has like workshops he can go to. I haven't gone to one. That's one I haven't gone to. But while I was on my spiritual journey over the last 6 years, I've gone to a lot. Like I said, I went to Laura.
That is one guy
Day.
I plan on going to one of his workshops.
Yeah. Gabrielle Bernstein, The Universe Has Your Back. Gabrielle Bernstein has a lot of books. I highly recommend her too.
She's big on manifestation.
And all that. Yeah. Laura Day, How to Rule the World from Your Couch. Again, Laura Day.
She's in London.
Yeah, she's in London. She's going to be on the podcast. No, Laura Day became the homie. And let me tell you why. She is huge, and she's like one of my idols because she is just so successful. I went to her workshop. She had a bunch of people in there. For some reason, like we were drawn to each other, which I'm not surprised because that happens when you're doing this kind of stuff. And I was really sick at the moment, and she's like, look, I usually don't give people, I hope she doesn't get mad I'm saying this, medical advice, but this is what I'm going to tell you to do. And she told me, da-da-da-da-da. I did what she said, and my thing was gone. If you listen to another episode we have about like fibroid tumors, I changed all that because she told me what to say, and she was tuning into her intuition to like, hey, and she didn't tell me exactly, but she was like, hey, you got to do this, see this kind of doctor, do the hormone thing. And I had tried everything at this point. Right. So anyways, we kept in touch or whatever. And when I was in the hospital, she did this whole like circle thing for me. So I love Laura Day. And so she said she can come on our podcast. Anyways, that was a little geek out moment. Esther Hicks and Jerry Hicks. Have you?
Yes.
Yeah. That's okay. This is for if you're new, don't start with Esther Hicks and Jerry Hicks.
No, that's too much.
No. You'll think we're crazy. But once you start your spiritual journey, then go. Because
I will say one. I will say this because it's
Chris. Don't start there. You're gonna be like, what the fuck are they talking about?
The Hicks, son,
I will suggest one book if it's a good starter. Because it's the first book that Geena recommended that I actually finished, and it was An Untethered Soul.
Oh yeah,
it's not long.
Yes, that's a good one.
And so it's a good one to really start. Yeah, and it's
hard for me to
very
read.
helpful.
Yeah. But any book by Dr. Dwayne Dyer, Eckhart Tolle, Louise Hay, she has some amazing one. Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements, that's another one. Who else? What else am I going through? All of those.
Jay Shetty's
great,
a really popular guy.
So
right now.
those are like some of the books. So I started like reading all these books also during my spiritual journey. But I also started doing this this journal that I did every single day. And this is something that you can, like, you don't have to buy anything. You literally just get a journal. And Vanessa, the Theta Healer, the original Theta Healer, she's the one who recommended it. So it's 7 questions. And Drew, I haven't even told you this one. You literally write 7 questions on the first page. And you write, yesterday I filled my cup or took care of myself by, and you write 3 things. So it could be like, I took a nap, or I went for a run, whatever you did that makes you happy, right? Today, I will take care of myself, or today I will fill my cup by, and you write today 3 things, like I will. So you're already telling like whatever it is, like what's an example of what you guys would do to fill your cup?
Today I worked out.
Okay.
I woke up early, worked out.
Okay, and what else?
I actually jogged, which I normally don't do.
Awesome, okay.
And I don't know, a third thing?
What will you do later on?
What will I do? I will spend quality time with friends.
Okay. So that's 3. Then the third thing, today I am appreciating, and this can be anything. So I am appreciating what, Drew, today?
I appreciate this conversation.
Okay, 1. What else? Chris?
I appreciate just waking up.
Waking up.
Appreciate this cup right here, my favorite aunt cup.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing too about, like, since we're talking about appreciation real quick. The thing that I learned in it, I think I get it kind of somewhat excited when I talk about this because I'm having a lot of like breakthroughs and revelations. And I had one the other day, and it's everything has to come back to the most basic, simplest things. And people think like, oh, when I say appreciate or when I'm grateful for, they think of all these big things.
Mm-hmm.
The other day I wrote that I was grateful for my washer and dryer.
Yeah.
That sounds funny until you don't have a washer and dryer in your house, or you got it in your apartment complex that you got to share it with, and there's 3, and you got to share running water. Yeah. There's people in different parts of the world that got to walk 5 miles to a well to get water. And it's so always bring back, like, especially since we're talking about just start with simple things. You might have a hoopty car, like just a bucket. Guess what? That bucket is somebody, when you see somebody walking to work or waiting at the bus stop, guess what? Your bucket is that person's dream. Mm-hmm. And that's the way you start. When you start seeing it like that, you start seeing life in a completely, you are no longer looking at, well, what I need to get that. No, you don't. You have everything that you need.
What I would challenge everyone to do, and speaking of gratitude before I go, that was number 3 on this list, but is go try one day and literally say thank you in your head or out loud for every little thing that day, right? And see how you feel. It could be like, you know what? I am thankful today that I even am able to shoot this podcast on my free time with a crew that is doing this for free because they have the same passion that I do, with a friend that was willing to come down. I'm thankful that I get to live, you know what I mean? Like, really, really thank you. Like, whenever little things happen too, can you explain how you do that all the time?
Well, I just like, okay, I'll put it to you like this, because I think this was the one thing that kind of really broke it down for me. There was somebody got a snippet and put it up on Instagram, and it was, I forgot who it was, but it was on Joe Rogan's podcast. And the guy was talking about, when everybody is always looking for different, like the next thing, like I said, always, well, what that somebody that's really sick in the hospital, like you go to a cancer hospital, that guess what they want? They just want one thing, and that's to be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started changing into be just thankful for the smallest things, because your small thing is huge to somebody else. And that might sound cliche-ish, but
try it.
Try it.
Forget, don't, I think we take for granted a lot of things. When I was in the hospital last year, was it last year? It feels so long ago. Last year for 10 days, and I was in the hospital. I think like the 8th day, I was finally able to go outside and get fresh air.
Mm-hmm.
And I have never been thankful for fresh air as much as I was. That I was like, oh my God, like just to be able to be outside and have fresh air was just like, you forget that you take that for granted. When I came home from the hospital and I was just able to sleep in my bed and take a shower without a IV in my hand and without just take a shower, I was so grateful. You know what I mean? And those are the moments I think you like, you know what? Sometimes we go through life and we forget all that shit. We get like caught up in the hustle, bustle, whatever, when like, let's make it very simple.
I mean, even like my dad, one time, I was talking to my dad, and it was like a night that was cold. And we talked, like, man, it'd be hell to be homeless right now. And we like, my dad mentioned my bed, or everybody's bed. And he called it, he used the term for it, like, that's a luxury. Dude, all of us don't think of it as a luxury, but yes, it is.
Yes.
And it was so, and it kind of just caught me the way he used that term. That's a luxury. It is. It's like, when I can't explain to you the amount, like the difference that you make by just being grateful for, like, it really does. Like, look, it's not going to be, this is after years. This is only after couple of years of me doing it. Gina's been doing it longer than me. It's not like it's going to change your, like, oh my God, my life is just going to be perfect. It's not like that. It doesn't, but it changes the way you're going to go through life. Trust me, I've been going upstream for God knows how, my whole life.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to turn the other way and start just to flow.
Yeah.
And when you feel that, it's amazing. And these are all like little things that you can do. Like Geena is talking about journaling, and I'll bring it back to the journaling.
Do the gratitude journal.
Yes, I have the thing called the 5-minute journal.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things, like, it says it asks at the end of the day, like, what are your highlights of the day? 3 highlights. And anytime I see my dad or I talk to him on the phone, I've had that highlights almost every day, because I talk to my dad every day. And most people would think like, well, why is that always a highlight? Hey man, first of all, my time with my dad is finite. And there's going to be a time that he's not there, and I'm going to want him there, or I'm going to miss that conversation. Yeah. There is somebody that has lost a parent that wishes they could. So that's a highlight. Mm-hmm. And so, going back to the journal, the 5-minute journal is a great way to start, because I'm not a great journal. I'm not great at just free writing and journaling. So I need kind of a
So
little
you
bit of
get
structure.
prompts. Yeah.
Yes. And the 5 minute, and literally it'll take a little bit longer than 5 minutes if you have to like kind of sit down and think.
Yeah.
But here's one thing that we're talking about starting things. Here's a simple thing that you can do every morning. I've really started to like really do it. I've been doing it for a while, but like now I'm like ultra focused on it. Don't get on your phone the first 30 minutes of your day.
Mhm.
Wake up, don't look at it. I pick it up only to go on the Insight Timer to do a
Insight Timer is
guided
It's a
meditation.
meditation app, by the way. Everyone should download it.
If you do
Insight
not
Timer.
have it, download it.
Yes.
It's great.
And we're going to talk more about meditation. This is obviously we're going to make this podcast into 2 episodes because we haven't this whole point of this podcast was to go through everything that I've tried. Obviously, I don't know if we're going to get through that even in 2 episodes. But we're going to cut this in, but I just want to finish these last, if you're listening, like these 7 things, and then we'll go into meditation and all that. So just if you're right, because I know if you're listening to this, you may be writing down, okay, what are the 7 things? Because I literally did this every single day. You guys see this every single day for a whole year, and you start to see this stuff come to life.
Yes.
Okay. So again, quickly, question number 1 would be, yesterday I filled my cup or took care of myself by, and you write 3 things. Today I will take care of myself by, you write 3 things. Number 3, I'm appreciating, write 3 things. Number 4, right now I feel. Now it's not how you want to feel, it's how I physically feel. I'm tired, I feel great, I feel fat, I feel whatever it is, right? 5, my intention today is, and this can be literally anything. My intention today is to be happy. My intention today is to be grateful, whatever you want. Number 6, I'm joyfully anticipating, and then you put all the things you want in your future. I'm joyfully anticipating meeting the love of my life. I'm joyfully anticipating becoming the best DJ in the world. I'm joyfully anticipating my new house. I did that before I got this condo. It's a little thing. It's manifesting really. Number 7, lately I've learned, and this can be anything from like, lately I've learned how to cook this new recipe. Lately I've learned how to meditate. Lately I've learned how, it can be literally edit, whatever you want. And that's it. And you do that every single day, which I did. You can see all this. And you start seeing things come to life, and it's really cool to look back. So that's just a little journal you could do. We're going to cut it right here, but there's going to be a part 2 to this because we have so much more to talk about.